How's it going, guys? Pete here, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be doing something that was kind of unexpected, but my wife came home a couple days ago and we couldn't figure out what was going on with the car. Next morning we woke up and noticed the vehicle was basically sitting on one side. If I step back here, it looks completely twisted. And this is her 2010 BMW 550 IGT, one of my favorite cars ever to drive. I'm gonna see if I can show you. Let's come around. I'm gonna show you the wheel wells. So today what we're gonna be doing is replacing the rear passenger side airbag. And basically it's suspension airbag, I'm sorry. So it's the air ride suspension. I went ahead and ordered the part because I figured that's what it was. I found the part pretty cheap, and we're gonna go ahead and try to tackle this job today. It's something I've never done before, but let's go ahead and take a look at the part, and then I'm gonna walk you guys through the process of getting this changed out. Okay, so box just arrived from Amazon, and I'm gonna definitely give you guys a link to this part because I picked this up for 25 bucks, and I'm not sure if it's 100% the quality of the stock one, but we'll take a look at the stock one when we pull it out. But it looks really good. It looks like what I saw online as the part that people were pulling out. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link. I got it off of Amazon. Most places, the least expensive place that I could find. Now, I'm not saying to get the cheapest parts when you replace these. There are some that come with better warranties, but I wasn't 100% sure that this was the issue, and I didn't want to run a full diagnostics for a couple $100 and then have them come back and tell me, you know, this is how much parts are going to be. I figured I'd get an inexpensive one, put it in. If it raises it up, I'd order two little more expensive ones if it was an easy enough job, and I think it's going to be. So I'll go ahead and leave a link to this, and then I'll do a quick review on it too. So if it is a nice quality part for 25 bucks, you can obviously see they're made in China. You know, you guys might want to pick this up for a quick fix. So let's go ahead and get the car jacked up and get the other one out. I'll walk you guys through that. Okay, so after you get it jacked up and you get the tire removed, you're going to be able to visibly see our air suspension boot. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to get that completely decompressed by releasing the air. So I'm going to show you guys how to access where the air is. Now, I do want to point out when taking the tire off, they can get stuck, as you can see. It gets a little rusted on here and corroded, and that will stick to the rim. So make sure if it's not coming off, you wiggle it nice. You kind of wiggle it back and forth till it pops off. I am extra precautious. I always put tons of jacks and always leave my my jack, jack stands, and I leave my jack, you know, on the car as well. And that way, if the jack slips, it's got plenty of jack stands that are already in place. So always be extra cautious when working on vehicles, especially when you're taking the tire off. Now, to start back here, first thing you're going to do is remove this rear trim. If you have the 550i, I'm not sure if the 535 has this trim, but we're going to go ahead and remove that trim, and that's going to allow us to access these bolts here. And I believe those bolts are 8mm, and so you're going to have an 8mm and 10mm bolt you need to access. And once you get down here, there are some more 8mm bolts up underneath this plastic. And once you remove these ones, we're going to be able to slide that out. And then up under here, there's going to be some 10mm bolts. I'm going to pull this out and show you guys that next step. Okay, so now that we've got most of this back paneling removed, we removed our bolts there and pulled off. It just pulled right down. Up underneath that's going to be this little box, and it's going to have two little nuts that are attached to little posts, one on one side, one on the other. You'll see them. They are 10mm, and then this box will just kind of pull down there. And so you're going to access these ports. So now the red is going to be your driver's side, and the blue is going to be your passenger side, which is the one that we have. So we're going to want to unhook it here, and what that's going to do is release all of the air in the in our suspension. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, guys, so you can see now I went ahead and released this, and you're going to start hearing a hissing noise as you're releasing this. Now, in my case, the bag was pretty low already, so it didn't release a ton of air. But after I got that off, let's go around this side here to where you can see the bag. I was able to just squeeze the bag and get the remaining air out of there. And then here's what you're going to do next. So right up under here, I've already done it. You're going to be able to slide a flathead screwdriver, and it's not difficult, and you're going to pry up this, okay? Now this is not bolted in, it's just up in there with a twist system, and I'll show you guys that. Well, I'll go ahead and twist it out. I think it already came out, yeah. So if you look at the top of this one, or the top of your new one, it's got little, like a little spiral here. That basically twists this way to come out, and twist, when you slide it back up in there, you're going to twist it back up in there. And you're going to remove the air hose on your old one and then reattach it on the new one. So I'm going to go ahead and get the new one set up now that I got this old one pulled out, and show you guys how that goes in. Okay guys, I wanted to fill you in on this because you want to make sure you get yourself a nice open end wrench, whether it's an adjustable one or a closed end one like this, and it's going to be 10mm. Because this is kind of a tight fit, and you don't want to try to get some pliers in there, or some, even some vice grips, because you're going to most likely damage either the nut or the plastic itself. So you want to take your time and just undo this like that. Once it gets to a point where you can hand do it, you're going to hand undo that. I just wanted to fill you guys in on that, so I'm going to go ahead and get this old one out, and then I'm going to show you guys how the new one fits up in there. Right now, let me see if I can get the camera to go up in there, but after we pulled that out, if you look up in there, you're going to see the area that it slides up into is kind of a perfect fit. So you'll be able to slide it up in there and you'll feel it click in. So we're going to go ahead and get this one out, and we'll work on that. All right, so now that we've got our new one sitting right here and our old one pulled out, I wanted to fill you guys in on something that I'm going to do. So the new one does come with a new adapter, most likely because they probably have issues where this fails, and a lot of times they leak from there. I'm not sure if I'm going to attach this, but the next step would be to cut your line, and then what they expect you to do is to while this is up in there, you slide the hose through and attach this back on. I highly suggest, instead of trying to maneuver that all around, you cut a little slit in your boot there, and to take the old one off, instead of trying to finagle any of the hose clamps and everything off, just cut that off, because if you're not going to reuse this, it's going to be tossed away anyways. You don't need to worry about that. But what they want you to do is actually cut this hose and slide the hose through the boot while it's up in here, and then attach your other line. Probably not the most difficult thing, but for a DIY at home, it might be easier just to cut, and what I'm doing, a slit down here so you can slide the whole unit through. This is only designed to hold the hose in place. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the old hose through, hook it up, and see if we're holding air. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now getting the hose attached, you just have to take your time, get it in there, make sure it screws in properly. I do highly suggest using the new attachment they give you. The reason why I did not is because I wanted to test this one out, and I thought it looked very good, so all the rings and everything looked like they were in place. The gasket looked good, but I would highly suggest you remove that one and put the new one on. So I'm going to show you how that goes up in there. I showed you this a little earlier. It's got a little cutout. If you look up in that area there, you're gonna see the cutout pretty much like this. So you're basically gonna slide that up, and then you're gonna turn it towards yourself. So clockwise towards yourself, that's gonna lock it in place. And the thing is, the item is gonna come depressed from the stock. So when you put it up in there, you're gonna have this massive gap. So you're gonna pull this plastic piece down, and it comes down pretty easily, and just kind of push it into that gap like that. And so once that's in, and also by pulling it down, you're gonna know that the boot is in there properly. It's up in the top properly. It's not falling out, and you know you got it in there correctly. And the next step now is gonna be to reattach our line over here. So we're gonna get up underneath the car, and I'm gonna go ahead and reattach that, and then we're going to turn the ignition on so that we can add air to this. Great thing about this is there's no programming needing at all, so you're gonna be able to just, this is plug and play. So 25 bucks, we would just, hopefully, we're gonna go ahead and test this, just fixed a very expensive BMW factory item that does have a tendency to fail. So let's go ahead and test this out. Alrighty guys, everything is all fixed, so pretty exciting. $25 air suspension fix. Now, I'm gonna fill you in because I almost thought that I had another major issue. The car would not raise up fully after putting it back in. I thought I had a leak where the connector went into the pump. So knowing that I had an extra adapter that came with the boot, I tried attaching that to it, hooking it back up, still nothing. So this is what fixed it. I actually let the air out of the driver's side, the left side, which was the red hose, then hooked them when it lowered, and they were both all the way down, hooked them both back up, started the car again, and the car raised up to be level. So pretty darn exciting. Hopefully this helped you guys out. That last little trick, I know many of you guys are gonna run into that. You're gonna think maybe you got another bad suspension that came from Amazon, or maybe you have a leak somewhere. But what I was able to do is basically reset the system by letting the air out of the driver's side airbag by doing that nut. It is a 10mm open end wrench, and you're gonna need a 10mm open end wrench. You're gonna need a jack stands. So pretty simple tools. I would say a flathead screwdriver to pry up the bag, and then all you're gonna need to take off this back panel down here is an 8mm and a 10mm socket, and you can get this thing off, get this thing done in less than an hour, guys. Once again, my name's Pete. Thanks for joining Pete's Carport. Please like, subscribe, share. We're gonna be doing tons of videos. Totally unexpected video of my wife's car, but I just fixed probably what would cost $700 to $1,000 at BMW for $25 in less than an hour. Have a great day, guys.